Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary to share another contemplative focus with you. And the focus I want to share today is a quote from Rene Descartes, who is known for this quote: I think, therefore I am. Our thoughts create our reality until we go beyond the mental dimension and experience more subtle, universal dimensions of our being. Until then, our unconscious, automatic thinking processes continue to create negative, fear based realities that color our experience. So, this is the life of most human beings today. Pretty easy to witness that if you go online pretty much anywhere. It's always fear based, it's always a reaction to something that's threatening or disappointing, etc., etc. But this is not the kind of thinking that our mind can do if we take control of it and we choose to be more truthful by meditating every day and living a holistic lifestyle. So this is the answer to that question. I think, therefore I am, but we are so much more than the mind, huh? And this is what our teacher told us over and over again, that the real truth, the real bliss of being begins where the mind ends. And that's a truth that I've experienced and pretty much everyone that's here has experienced and continues to experience. It doesn't mean we don't use our mind. I use my mind all the time. And here and there it tries to pop up with some fear-based story and run with it, but I don't go there because I don't need to go there. It doesn't matter. What we fear is what we think. The real danger to life will always pop up in spite of whatever we think. But that's not a danger to life either, because life, in truth, life never ends. We don't die, we just move on. The ego dies. Jim Clark, who's speaking right now, will forever disappear and never come back again. But the life that's animating this form and speaking right now, that life is eternal. This is the primary intention in consciousness, to fully be itself. And in order to fully be itself, it contracts itself and comes into a human form and pretends to be someone, something other than what it is. From the infinite one that it is to a finite human being that's born and will surely die someday. So this is a huge shift in terms of experience that consciousness creates for itself, for the sake of itself. Because when you realize your truth, when you meditate and you break through and go beyond your mind while you're still alive, that is an exaltation of consciousness celebrating itself through your form, through your experience. And this is what the human experience is really all about. We're here to play the game of pretending to be what we are not. And we're doing a very good job of it these days, because right now the polarization is shifting towards the negative more than it ever has for a long, long time. And it's doing this because this is a natural progression of consciousness. Within a polarized reality, whenever the polarization reaches an extreme, it triggers a shift to the opposite. So we're building up to a much more positive era and period on Earth for human beings is what we're doing. And that's a good thing, but it's hard to see it that way if you're locked into your mind and it's running wild and you're just buying into one story after another, hoping and searching for something to save you or make your life better, something outside of yourself, perhaps. And this is what we do all the time. We go outside of ourselves and we try to find something outside of ourselves to make our lives better. But in truth, that cannot be. I mean, sure, You can inherit money, you can get a great job, you can experience these things, and that will make your life somewhat better, but not that much better. Even someone you love, even a mate of some form or another that you fall in love with and devote your life to live with, and so forth, even in a successful marriage and a successful relationship, there are limits to how joyful that can be, compared to realizing your true self. Nothing can compare to that. One moment of total awareness will change your life forever, and for the better too, because you'll know what real bliss is, and it's so powerful and so all-encompassing that there's no way to describe it. You have to go beyond the mind to even know it. So, I think, therefore I am. So, what am I being? Who am I being now? Who do I choose to be? And that's a choice that you cannot make unless you're aware enough to be able to make it. And after many years of meditation, I can tell you that even now, there are moments that I have to consciously make that choice, because of the intensity of the negative these days is constantly putting me at choice, as it is you. And this is, if you're a meditator, a long-term meditator especially, then that choice isn't so difficult. But if you're not a meditator, if you're still imbalanced to the negative polarity, which is the dominant default polarity of this planet as a human being, then that can be a challenge that you cannot meet, and you just have to, excuse me, you'll have to live in fear and suffer that particular experience until you get so tired of it that you might start looking for something better besides some material thing or some relationship, something outside of yourself, in other words. And that's when people start to look for meditation. They look for a technique. They look for something that can ease the pain. And this is what brings a lot of people into meditation in their beginning phases of their evolutionary cycle of the human experience. We spend many lifetimes in the involutionary cycle, which is where we fully take on identity as a human being and experience all the negativity and whatnot. And then when we finally get tired of that, when we've had enough of who we are not, then we start to evolve towards who we are. And in that progression, we experience ourselves as we truly are at some level anyway. It might just be one moment in a whole lifetime, but that one moment can be so powerful that it changes your life forever, and that brings you into a continuing experience of evolving awareness and self-awareness. And if it does that, then that's the journey, and it does that for many, many people. But you don't hear about this. It's not a media subject anymore, because we're drowning in negativity these days. It's grown to such an extreme that it's hard to find anything else. There is some very positive messages that you can find on the internet, but they're few and far between compared to the negativity that's going on right now. And this is the way it should be, because this is what happens in an evolutionary process, where the polarities build to that extreme, but so that they can shift back to the positive. And then there's a more of a universal shift in terms of, something better, something more positive that happens with the human experience. And this is what I see coming, but most people don't see that coming. What they see coming is doomsday, the end. Just like if you were given a prognosis today from a doctor that you had a week to live, would that be something to be afraid of, or would that be, oh boy, I'm going to get out for good behavior kind of a moment for you? Because in truth, that's really what it is. It's moving on. It's dropping the ego that you've been identified with and moving on to whatever experience is appropriate for you next. Could be another ego, could be another human birth, or it could be something totally different. But at any rate, in the truth, in the very, very truth of every human being, of all reality, the only real, so we say, life that is living is consciousness itself. Eternal consciousness, and where there is no other. There's no other because consciousness is all there is. And if that's all there is, what's there to fear? If you were the only being in existence, there's no other to threaten you. There's no other to compare to. There's no other, period. So you can rejoice in the joy that is your essence, that is your nature. So this is really just all an expression of the joy that consciousness has within it by its very nature, and is pretending to not have it in order to amplify that. And then in its amplification, it rejoices, and we rejoice. We just don't always see it that way, and most people right now are not seeing that at all in terms of the daily happenings on planet Earth. So my suggestion is celebrate the moment. Celebrate whatever moment you're having, because it's appropriate. Every moment we have is appropriate. If you stub your toe, if you lose something, or if you win the lottery, whatever it might be, it's appropriate. There's a reason for that happening. And also try to be more aware of how you're creating something you don't want to have happen. Because a lot of things can change with conscious focus. And that conscious focus can only be developed through meditation, which brings balance in an imbalanced world. And if you're balancing your mental dimension, if you're balancing your emotional dimension, if you're balancing your physical dimension, then you will find it much easier to choose love as opposed to fear. And that's what our teacher always told us. No matter what the problem, love is the answer. And love, this is not the attraction between two human beings I'm talking about. This is the very nature of the essence of who we are and what everything is. And that is love. And that is love far beyond anything the mind can ever imagine. So with that, I'm going to bid you adieu till next week, when I'll be back with another focus to share with you. And I hope that you've got something out of this that's elevating and useful for you and your evolving awareness. Until next week, then, I bid you adieu, and celebrate yourself with the love that you truly are in every moment.